Hey everybody, good evening to you and happy Sunday to you on my regular Sunday night Rewire, Transform and Thrive Facebook Live right here on my business page. So I'm really excited to welcome anybody that is going to join me this evening, and if you do want to say hello, please do so, but let me again reiterate to you that this is my public business page, so anything that you post on this, it will be able to be seen by other people. And the reason I say that is obviously I know sometimes, evening Sam, I know sometimes that we want to hide things from our ex because maybe we don't want them to know what we're doing. So again, let me reiterate, this is my public business page. If you're not, evening Carol, if you're not in my private and secure Facebook group, Divorce and Breakup Support After Narcissistic Abuse, then please comment. I can send you the link and you can come on in there. We're nearly, actually, I think we're too shy of 3,600 women in there now as well. Evening, Luann, hope you're okay. I love the post you just put in the group actually today, Luann. It's made me chuckle reading those replies. It really has. So it's a really fascinating live that I want to do this evening. Maybe a bit controversial as well, because it's almost like, did I attract the narcissist into my life? Because sometimes we think, actually, was it me? Was it them? Was it just kind of coincident that you end up in a relationship with a narcissist? And I'm here to tell you that it was not a coincidence. You were a magnet to a narcissist, just like I was a magnet as well. And when I came out of my marriage, it really gave me the opportunity and a catalyst to look at the relationships that I'd had previously, and also the relationships that I'd got with friends at that particular time too. Because what I realised was, actually, when I look back, some of my friends had definitely been narcissists. I'd got a couple in my life at that particular time as well who are no longer in my life. And also past relationships, a couple of them definitely had been narcissistic as well. So what was it? I had to ask myself really the question, was it just a coincidence all of the time that actually I was in this relationship with a narcissist or attracting friends that were narcissists, or was it actually something about me? Now, when you actually start looking at yourself rather than blaming everybody else, what you can do then is take back your power and you can take back your responsibility and you can help yourself in that scenario, because this is what it's all about as well. Absolutely, Deborah. That's the best relationship you need to be working on. And that's, again, what I help my clients with, all of that self-love as well. So what is it about those of us who attract narcissists? What is it about us that are like magnets to a narcissist? Well, if you think about it, a narcissist is somebody that normally during childhood, they will have been the golden child. They may well have been pitted against their siblings, or they've had a severe lack of love, or even abuse sometimes involved too. So the narcissist normally is formed. They don't actually get diagnosed till they're 18, if they get diagnosed, that is, as well. And you need to have 5 of the 9 traits that are all listed in what we call the DSM, so the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. But it's nigh on impossible to really get narcissists diagnosed, because by nature of getting a diagnosis for them, it means they have to admit something's wrong and go and see, obviously, a professional to get that diagnosis. So it's very rare. So with that being said, let's switch it upon ourselves. What is it about us then that are attracted to a narcissist? Now, if you think about the narcissist traits, they are somebody, and we can have covert and overt narcissists. And again, I've done videos on these in the past that you can go back and look at on my YouTube channel there, rather than scrolling down in Facebook. Go and check my YouTube channel out and you'll be able to see them. Don't forget to subscribe there as well, because I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel at the moment too, to get all of this out there more. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so, because the more subscribers I have, the more obviously my videos get seen, and the more we can help as many people as we can going through narcissistic abuse. So what is it about us then that are magnets to narcissists? Well, through all the years of my research, through knowing myself, and that's professionally, it's personally, all of my clients, evening Rachel, all of my clients that I work with are what we call codependent. Now, codependency means, another name for self-love deficit disorder. So what happens in our childhood when we are born, we are all born codependent upon our parents because they have to feed and clothe us, but we're also, as children, and you think about this, we love ourselves. So if you're a child and you cry, you expect somebody to come. And it's only then when you stop crying because you don't think anybody's going to bother coming. And this is where our childhood then gives us the experiences and the blueprint of how we're then going to live the rest of our life as well. Hi Shani, nice to see you this evening. So what happens in our childhood is, through various experiences and various events that happen, we attach a certain meaning to these events that creates this blueprint in our mind then of what we are going to do. Now, many of you will have heard my story before about this, but if you haven't, I'll give you me as an example for this. So I was a massive codependent. My mum was a real codependent empath as well, making everybody else happy. You know, that was her role through her childhood. Her father left when I think she was about 14, looked back and said to her, her sister and my grandma and my mum's mum, look after them. So my mum took on this caretaking role of her mum and her sister. My dad, on the other hand, came from a quite emotionless family. And so my dad grew up not knowing how to show emotion or anything. So that meant for me as a child growing up, my mum made everybody else happy. So that was my female role model, watching, okay, my happiness is down to making everybody else happy because that's what women do. And on my father's side, I didn't get any praise. So he never verbally said, I love you. He never said he was proud of me. So that created within me a super high achiever because I was going to try and make my dad proud of me and I wanted him to say that he loved me. So I played a lot of tennis and netball. I played county sports. I was going all around the country. I was very academic as well, a very, very high achiever. I do a little gymnastics routine in my lounge and many of you will know my dad would be the judge and he would always go, 9.99 recurring. So I would never get a 10 out of 10 and I'd be like, right, again, because you know what, I'm gonna get that 10. So that created in me, my mum making everybody else happy, my dad never saying he was proud or he loved me. However, he did show me his love by taking me everywhere in the car because he used to drive me everywhere. But as a child, I didn't recognize that because I was just a child. So I took on a belief system into my subconscious mind as a child. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I need to make everybody else happy because if I make everybody else happy, maybe then I will feel good enough and I will be worthy and I will be lovable and people will say that to me. So it was no surprise then that the friendships, relationships that I were attracting, because I was desperately trying to make them happy. So I was a great friend to have. I was a great girlfriend to have because I would be there and I'd be sticking it out and I would be making sure that you were happy, you were this, in the hope that they would actually make me feel better about myself as well. So I was a magnet to people that were narcissistic because ultimately I would be there, I would stay there, I would keep going trying to make them happy because if I made them happy, then maybe they would make me happy and make me feel a certain way about myself as well. And you can see the pattern of behaviour. If you don't feel good enough, if you don't feel worthy, if you don't feel lovable, the relationships that you will go into, and this includes friendships, and that you can maybe recognise family members with this, and then also boyfriends and girlfriends and husbands and wives then, if you're always trying to make the other person happy, but the person you are choosing to make happy isn't actually happy within themselves, and it's all about control and manipulation, you're never ever going to feel that love towards yourself, because what you are doing is you are picking up your love for yourself, giving it to someone else. If I make you happy, then maybe I will be happy. If I make you feel loved, then maybe you'll make me feel loved. And that is a highway to nowhere. You know, you can never make a narcissist truly happy because it isn't about a normal, healthy relationship. It's about trying to get somebody who isn't deep down happy with themselves to feel better, and you're just constantly supplying them. And I had an interesting conversation with my middle sister actually, so I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and we had a chat. When we have these regularly as well. And she was saying to me that it was really interesting that her beliefs that she created in childhood were nothing like mine. She felt loved, she felt like she was enough, all of that. We had the same parents. But again, everybody is different. My perception of that, my belief systems that I took on board because of the things that happened, because of how my dad was, the sport I was playing, the academics that I was doing, visually looking at my mum, because I'm definitely an empath as well and my sisters aren't, then for me, that created this subconscious belief that I wasn't good enough. Now, me and my sister were talking and saying, you know, had she got in a relationship, say with my ex-husband, for instance, as well, would she have lasted as long as I did? Because I was married for 12 years and I was with him for about 14 and a half, 15 years as well. So she wouldn't. After a month, 2 months, she'd have probably gone, yep, see you. But again, because I was this codependent, I was this empath, I was somebody who'd got a belief system that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't worthy, I wasn't lovable. Of course, I'm going to stay in that relationship. Not only because of that, I'm not a quitter either, because I have to make everybody else happy. So I ended up in all of these relationships as well. And I can see lots of you are kind of saying, being codependent, is this why we often overlook red flags and lies? Yeah, potentially, but I'm still obviously somebody who has been a codependent, Carol, but what that means is I'm now fully aware of all of that. So, you know, and you shouldn't overlook them now either, because you have all of that knowledge. And again, that knowledge gives you power and everything as well. It's because once you know all of these things, the beauty is you can change it. So for me, when I went through my divorce, what it highlighted in me was, don't get me wrong, I was at rock bottom. And when I say rock bottom, I probably mean worse than rock bottom, because every day I'd be sat on my bathroom floor, I'd be trying to control a panic attack. You probably know, if you've read my book, Divorce Became My Superpower, I used to get the end of my toothpaste and I used to gouge out on the top of my thighs because I felt so out of control. So my way of being in some kind of control with something was to actually self-harm. And again, I was diagnosed with PTSD, depression and anxiety. So I really was at rock bottom. Now, I could have stayed at rock bottom, which I did for a while, I have to say, because I was blaming everybody else and I wanted everybody else to behave in a certain way and someone to come in and rescue me, till I realised I needed to help myself. So what my divorce from my narcissistic ex became was a catalyst for me to look at myself. You know, what was it about me that ended up in a relationship with a narcissist? Because it isn't by chance. So what could I look at within myself to change so that it would never ever happen again? And it gave me the opportunity to look at relationships, family and friends. And it all boiled down to how I felt about myself, that I didn't feel good enough. And by nature of not feeling good enough, I'd found friendships and relationships where I was investing so much and people pleasing all of the time, feeling exhausted all of the time, because I was never making these people happy, because the goalposts were always moving. So I was continually then thinking, I'm not good enough. Your brain responds to what is familiar. And what was familiar here to me, oh, Davina, I can't wait to see you actually on Wednesday as well, because we're going to sort all of this out for you. Don't you worry as well. So mine is a cerebral narc. He doesn't even hold me or kiss me for a long time. Only been together 3 years. I'm afraid to end it financially, mostly desperate now. Really, really sorry to hear that, Sarah. I don't know whether you're in my group, Divorce and Breakup Support from Narcissistic Abuse. I know you're still in the relationship with him, Sarah, but ultimately if you want to come into the group, just pop me a message and I can send you the link as well. I was like you, Sarah, though. I was further into my relationship. Finances and children were the things that were holding me with my ex, because I was so worried about losing everything. And the bizarre and the irony of it was I stayed with him, then he left me, and then I lost everything. But you know what? I'm still here. So we can support you in all of that as well. I get it with the finances. It can be a real challenge and a worry with that. But you know what? You're an independent woman and you can cope. But I do get it can be a little bit scary for you as well. You know, I don't underestimate any of that either. But what I would say is, you know, your mental health is vitally important. So for me, those feelings of not being good enough was familiar. Your brain works on what's familiar. It likes what's familiar. It doesn't recognize necessarily that it's good or bad. And again, I did a really scientific live, not last week, the week before, about how the brain functions during abuse, because the brain likes what's familiar. So for me, growing up not feeling good enough, that was familiar to me. And I liked feeling like that in a bizarre way, because that was normal to me to feel like that. So as I went into friendships and relationships, what felt normal to me was to feel not good enough. And if I found friendships or relationships where I felt good enough almost because they were actually being healthy, it felt a disconnect, didn't feel right. So I would move on from that relationship because I wasn't used to feeling like that. I wanted to not feel good enough because that's what my brain was telling me I needed to be like. So it was no surprise then that I married a narcissist, somebody that I was always going to keep trying to make happy. The goalposts were always moving because really he was never going to be happy. Although I'm sure if you spoke to him, he would say he was. Absolutely. But I know deep down from his childhood and everything else as well, he isn't happy. So Shani, identify the same with my parents. They were divorced eventually. I was at boarding school and was always the person trying to mend everyone if they fell out. Absolutely. I see it with all of my clients, and it can be something quite innocuous. I mean, mine wasn't necessarily anything major in childhood. It was just nature of how my dad was because of his upbringing, how my mum was because of hers, and how together, I mean, don't get me wrong, they loved me and, you know, wonderful, wonderful parents. It's just certain things that I took on board as a child that created then my beliefs in my subconscious mind that moved me forward, which is why I work so much on my coaching now in the subconscious mind. So we can't change those events that happened to you in your childhood. We can't change those things that have happened. For instance, for you, Shani, I can't change that your parents got a divorce. But what I can change is those meaning that you attach to the events of your parents getting a divorce. Because at the moment when you were saying you went to boarding school and you were trying to mend everybody, there was a reason for that. So what I do in my coaching is I get you to understand the reason for all of that, and we change the meaning all around it, because you were just a child then. It was not your responsibility to have to do all of that too. So thank you, Laurie. That's really, really good to hear. I know, and we will, do you know what? I feel like we know all of the women in the group anyway. I really do. And, you know, I am definitely going to get to the US to meet lots of you as well at some stage too, because my sister lives in Phoenix. And I've been to America many, many times. So I really love it over there as well. So we will definitely at some stage over the years sort all of that out as well. So I'm hearing lots of you can relate to this. People pleasing, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling lovable. That happens in our childhood. That gives us the blueprint then of how we're going to live our adult life. And it's actually our parents' responsibility to move us from codependency to independency. Okay, now I've always thought of myself as an independent woman because I was, you know, I went to university, I went out to work, all the usual things. So in my mind I thought I am an independent woman, but right in the back of my subconscious mind was the fact that I didn't feel good enough, this self-love deficit disorder, this codependency that was happening as well. I fully know that mine started with my father. I never made him happy. He was so dark and drank too much. I love him and he loves me too, but the damage is done. I'm 53. Okay, that damage can be turned around, Sarah, because like I say, what happens is, and maybe again lots of you can relate to this, and I see this with my clients and I talk to them about it. When we are with somebody, and maybe your father, maybe your partner, and obviously that's when you don't feel that love, you don't feel good enough, what happens is you revert back to being that child. I know for me, just as an example with my dad, and it was probably only, I'd say, in the last 5 or 6 years that I've really come to terms with all of this as well. You know, my dad still now has never really said he's proud of me, and I've written a best-selling book. I created a £1 million business. I earned a 6-figure income within 12 months of starting a business from home. You know, I have done some pretty major things. I used to, many years ago, I've worked on a shopping channel as a presenter. I have worked for airlines before because I liked traveling when I'd finished uni and worked in the NHS. So I used to do lots of promotional work with Virgin Atlantic, met Richard Branson many, many times, with British Airways when I worked for them. I used to do all the VIP flights with Tony Blair. Not once has my father ever said he's proud of me. And believe me, I could write several books about all the stuff that I have done because I feel really lucky. I've had an amazing life as well. But my dad has never ever said that to me at all. But every single time I knew I was achieving something, my very first thought was I want to tell my dad, because I was desperate to tell him something that actually he would then turn around and go, Caroline, so proud of you. But it's never happened. I had to let go of that. And in fact, it's almost at the stage now where I joke about it with my kids and say, do you know what, I'm going to tell Grandpa that I've just joined the Peace Corps, or I'm going to tell him that I'm going to speak at United Nations, because there's nothing that he will ever say as well. So, you know, it really is down to me to realise that, not wait for him as well. Yeah, Sarah, I know it's amazing, you know, but I don't mind anymore, because do you know what? It's not his role to make me feel good about myself. I'm an adult now. I'm not that child anymore. But every time I was doing this sort of 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, when I was coming out of my relationship with my ex-husband, I was reverting back to that little girl as the gymnast in my lounge who was getting 9.99 recurring and desperately wanting somebody to feel proud of me or to say that they love me. But again, when I look back, I've changed the meaning to all of that. My dad drove me everywhere. I know he loved me. He didn't know how to show me as a child how the way I wanted to be shown. And again, and it's all in my coaching how I do this, in the subconscious and the conscious mind. So we amalgamate it all together for you. So what can you do right now to then think, moving forward, not to attract somebody like that into your life again? The number one thing, you've got to feel worthy. You've got to feel good enough. You've got to love yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you need to stand in front of the mirror every day and go, I'm amazing. Oh, I love myself. You know, you don't need to do that. But you go to bed with yourself every night. You wake up with yourself every night. The relationship you should be working on above everything else, and this includes your children, is the fact that you absolutely need to work on your self-love. So RTT is Rapid Transformational Therapy, Sarah. It's incredible. It was life-changing for me as well, in lots of ways actually, because I had RTT myself for my weight, because again, I'll share another story. I felt I'd been carrying a few extra pounds myself as well over the years, probably the last 6-7 years, just hadn't lost it. And I knew it wasn't about the food, because I'm normally about size 12 and I was sort of 14 to 16. And I had some RTT and I knew consciously what the reason was, but it was really embedded in my subconscious. And again, it was the fact that I'd created a very, very successful business when I broke up from my husband, and literally started a home-based business 6 years ago, which just catapulted, was earning 6-figure income within 12 months. I was able to pay off all my debt, privately educate my kids, and everything else as well. And what I realized was, with that came a lot of jealousy. With it came a lot of people trying to bring you down, because they like seeing you when all the bad stuff's happening, but then when they see you being successful, unfortunately, not everybody likes that. So I put on weight for that, because I thought, well, maybe if I'm a bit heavier, they might not be as mean about me or as nasty about me. How crazy is that? So I kept myself at a level of a size sort of 14, 16, and then I had my own RTT for that, and I've lost, well, gosh, in 6 weeks now, I'm over a stone lost, because it's really shifted how I feel about food too. So shiny. Can you find things out that are memories you've forgotten? Of course. So in your subconscious, everything is there. Your subconscious mind and your unconscious is where everything is held. There's only 10% in our conscious mind. So, you know, absolutely, you may have memories that come up that you have forgotten. But remember, when you're having a session of RTT, you're not actually reliving those events, you're reviewing them. So even if there's things that are major, I mean, I've had, you know, RTT sessions where major things have come up with the people, and I mean major, but you know, we're reviewing these scenes, we're changing the meaning that that individual has attached to those events, so they know that it's not their fault, and then we can shift and change all of that as well. And it's so, so powerful, because again, it's all about rewiring your brain. So, you know, I use a lot of science, neuroscience in my coaching to really think, you know, strategically about how we rewire the brain, because the brain changes during abuse. But the beauty of neuroplasticity is we can change it back. But there's specific things that we can do, the subconscious coaching, positive psychology interventions, you know, lots and lots of things that we can do to change all of that. But the starting point for you is how you feel about you. You know, if you don't love yourself, if you don't feel enough, you're always going to be searching. And I talk about this with my clients about the hole in your soul. So if when you are growing up in your childhood, you've created a belief system of you not being good enough, then you've got this gaping hole in your soul. And what happens is, as you have friendships and relationships, you're always seeking out somebody else to fill that hole in your soul. And when you seek out people like narcissists, for instance, they're never going to fill that hole in the soul, because they are dysfunctional human beings. They have a mental health disorder. They have narcissistic personality disorder. So ultimately, oh, bless you, Megan. Wow, you're an amazing woman. So it's not about that hole in the soul, getting somebody else to fill that, because all you're going to be doing is, every time you're trying to get someone else, then you're going to attract dysfunctional people all of the time, because they're going to have holes in their soul as well. You need to fill that hole in the soul with you. Oh, it's fantastic, Rachel. Positive psychology is amazing. So I'm doing my master's, which is at University of East London. So you can definitely look into that. It's an amazing course, Applied Positive Psychology and Coaching Psychology. But you can get certificates in it, you can get diplomas in it, you can do online courses in it just as tasters. Obviously not as in depth as my masters, but it's certainly a good starting point for all of that, because it is an incredible subject. It's all about science of happiness. How cool is that? So, you know, I love science, I love happiness, and it was just a marriage made in heaven for me, definitely. So don't keep looking for other people to fill the hole in your soul. You have to fill that. And you imagine if you fill that, you meet someone else who is coming from a place of being whole, then you're both going to have this healthy relationship then as well, because both of you are coming from a place where you are whole. You're not dysfunctional and trying to get them to help you feel something that you need to feel for yourself, which I know can feel really hard to start off with, because you know what, ultimately, you know, when you come out of a relationship with a narcissist, you are at rock bottom. You know, the majority will have PTSD or CPTSD from it within the relationship, you know, depression, anxiety, a lot of mental health issues as well. So it can feel like a mountainous task to kind of keep going, but little steps each day. Work on yourself. That is the biggest thing I talk to my clients about. It's you above the children. It's you. You know, if we're putting all our energy into our kids, then you know what, we're giving more of our energy. If we focus on ourselves, we can be a better mum, we can be a better dad, we can be a better friend, a daughter, sister. You know, we are so much better when we're coming from a place of loving ourselves, and that's not being arrogant. So you're working on your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your self-belief, your self-respect, your self-love, you know, all the things that I work on with my clients, because it's really important that when they look in the mirror, they know that they are enough and they don't need to prove anything to anybody else. They're not bothered about what other people say, because they're gonna get that. You will get that. I get it, you know. I had an incident last night with somebody messaging me about something, so I have all of these things to deal with all the time, but it's water off a duck's back to me, because ultimately I know I'm good enough, I know I'm worthy, I know I'm lovable, and that's all that matters. If other people don't see that, I don't need them to see that. And that, oh Shani, it really isn't. My dad is 77. No, in fact, he's 78 now. He was 78 on the 3rd of March, and my mum passed away 10 years ago. And I've been saying for a good few years now for him to get out dating again. You know, his life isn't over. It really isn't. And he, you know, rebelled. No, I'm not doing that. It's a slur on your mum. No. And I actually sent him some online links last year, and he went and he started dating, and he's been seeing a lovely lady now probably for about 4 or 5 months, and they're actually going to Wales tomorrow, Monday to Friday as well. He's 78. So when you say it's really hard to start a new life at 50, they reckon nowadays the majority of us, if we try and stay healthy, are going to live 90s, 100 plus. And in fact, they reckon most people born now will live to be over 100. So 50, Shani, that's nothing nowadays. You know, if I said to you, start a new life at 50. What if you've got another 50 years? You've only lived half your life. You know, you can't say that. But the interesting thing of you saying that is really hard to start a new life at 50. Your brain will respond to what you tell it. So if you're saying to yourself, it's really hard to start a life at 50, your brain will think, okay, you're telling me that. So yeah, it is. It is going to be hard. I'm going to make it hard for you as well. So yeah, absolutely, Laurie. Great point. So really be mindful about what words you are saying to yourself, because your brain will respond to that. You know, I do exercises with my clients where we talk about the positive, you know, the language we are using, and do this in the positive, because it's really hard. And that, oh, thanks, Sarah. It's really hard sometimes. You know, if we talk about you want honesty in a relationship, for instance, you might say, well, I want honesty because I don't want them to cheat. But actually, what does honesty give for you? Stop focusing on what you don't want, like my life's over, it's really hard, and I don't want this, I don't want that. Stop focusing on that, because when you focus on that, that's what you will stay within. Focus on what you do want. What do you want out of your life as well? So, hey, there's loads of 50-somethings on here tonight. Fantastic. You know, you're 49 plus 6. I like that, Sam. I'm 45, so I've only got 5 years to go before I'm the big 50 and everything as well. So absolutely, do you know what? Life isn't over, regardless of your age, genuinely. You know, we have a program here in the UK called First Dates, and I love watching that. You know, it's so lovely to watch. And there's people in their 90s that are going on dates and everything as well. So it's really, really important for you to realise it is not over, okay? 100%. There's so much that you can still do in all of that too. So, the understanding then, why did you attract the narcissist? Why? Why? And well done, Carol, for saying that. Good for you, because you are enough. The starting point is you are enough. You are worthy. You are lovable. You need to work on your self-love. You do that, you feel the hole in your soul, then I promise you, your life will transform. It totally will. If you know you are enough, just imagine you don't need to prove anything to anybody. People will talk about you regardless. People will say stuff about you regardless. So what you need to do is you need to bring it back to yourself. Really bring it back. Because ultimately, if you do that, your life will completely change. Not only that, those of you that are around you will completely change. And those of you who are listening who've got younger children as well, best lesson in the world, because ultimately we don't want to create with our children a generation of codependents or indeed a generation of more narcissists to come through. You need to be their role model. You need to show them, not just tell them, because remember, you know, we create these beliefs when we are children. So we have this power now for our kids of what we can show them, what self-love is all about by being that person, showing them that it's all really important that they love themselves, they respect themselves, they have a good self-esteem, you know, they have good self-confidence and self-belief in themselves. So I want you to go away tonight. I want you to get your mirror in your bathroom where you clean your teeth, and I want you to get an eyeliner or a lipstick or whatever it is, and I want you to write across the top, and I get all my clients to do this, I am enough, okay? Because subliminally, what will happen is when you walk into your bathroom, you will always see it. And it's like me saying to you right now, don't look at my hand. Don't look at my hand. Don't look at my hand. Because you all will look at my hand. Your brain will immediately go to it. So if you write I am enough on your mirror, you will absolutely look. You'll look at it and it will start to go in. It will start to fire up new positive neural pathways into your brain. It will start feeding your brain more positively, and I guarantee it, you will start to feel differently. So if you dare and you do that and you write I am enough on your mirror, screenshot it, pop it in the comments below. I would love to see it, just to give you a shout out to say well done. I have it on my mirror. Even now, you go into my bathroom and she absolutely, I've got it on my mirror, I am enough. And it's really, really important for you to really, really realise that you've got to think that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are lovable. Because if you don't, you're going to live your life putting your happiness in other people's hands. Do you really want to put your happiness in your ex's hands? I'd hazard not. I know I certainly don't. I want my happiness in my own hands, thank you very much. And I want the same for you too. So I hope that's really helped you. I hope it's given you an understanding of why you attracted the narcissist, down to our childhood beliefs, but that does not mean they are set in stone. They used to think that years ago, that our beliefs that we held in childhood were set in stone. But now, due to science, neuroplasticity, we know we can rewire the brain with all of that. So just because you think about that and you feel not good enough, and you can even maybe think of the reasons why, doesn't mean that you can't change it. You absolutely can as well. So again, if you're not in my group, then please let me know. I can send you the link. We'd love to welcome you in there. It's an amazing group, very, very supportive as well. And oh, I know, me too. I can't wait to see you, Davina. I really, really can't. It'll be great. So take care. Have a fabulous week. I will be back again next Sunday night, 8 o'clock British Summer Time, for my regular Rewire, Transform and Thrive. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, because I'll upload it to YouTube as well, please subscribe, because the more people that subscribe, then the more people will get to see these videos and realise that they are not on their own. There are reasons why. We can change them and you can move forward and thrive as well. So take care, everybody, and have a fabulous week.